Okay, we're just about to get started here. Just a reminder, everyone, there is a chat function. So if you guys do have questions while Paul is presenting, feel free to shoot them in there, and myself and Jeremy will try to answer those the best we can as things come up. And then if Jeremy takes a breath every once in a while, I can ask him a question or whatever questions come up. So that everyone can hear them. And they're going to be on the recording as well. So yeah, with that being said, let's get started. I'd like to welcome Paul and Jeremy from Sponge Microgrids. This is a product that we've been working with them for the last quite a few months, I think. Alex and Abdel here have been testing the unit on our test system on our roof with the inverters we have and the battery systems we have here. So they were really excited about the product, and we thought it was really good to bring this on and offer it through Frankensolar. And really excited to host this webinar here with Paul and Jeremy. So Paul, if you want to take it from here and walk us through your presentation.
Absolutely. So yeah, I want to start off by thanking the Frankensolar team. Everybody down there has been fantastic to work with as we've built up our partnership over the last few months. And also thank you everybody who's tuned in for taking the time to be here today. I know that everyone's time is valuable. So with that in mind, I'm going to dive straight in and give you as much information as I clearly can in a short period of time. So my name is Paul Kealey. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing for Sponge Microgrids. Sponge was founded in 2021. We build advanced control systems that improve the economics of renewable energy projects. From the day of our founding, we've been building solutions specifically for the Canadian market with a team entirely based in Canada. And what does that mean? It means that when you call us on the phone, you're going to get in touch with a team of people that you already know that have staked our reputation on our relationship with you. It also means that our solutions are custom tailored to maximize returns in your rate environment. Your problems are our problems, and we're here to collaboratively solve those problems with you. This presentation is titled Export Control and Battery Optimization in the Era of Load Displacement. So let's talk about what the era of load displacement means. Across Canada, we're seeing incentives pop up that provide capital for solar and battery projects. But the condition for that capital is that solar projects cannot export to the grid. And that creates two new problems for installers like everybody who's joined us here today. The first is, how do you ensure that you comply with zero export requirements so that you keep your incentives? And second, how do you design projects to maximize economic returns in this new zero export environment? And Sponge has solutions to both those problems, and that's going to be the topic for today's discussion. Now, quick disclaimer, I'm an Ontario man. This presentation is going to have an Ontario bias. If you're listening from other provinces and territories, please do stay dialed in. There are, of course, many cases where export control is required across Canada, and we can help you analyze battery strategies in any context. If you're tuning in from Alberta, Saskatchewan, I want you to stay tuned for our discussion of peak shaving. I want to emphasize that we build solutions for Canada. Whatever your unique context, your unique rate environment, we're here to help you. Now, with that disclaimer finished, let's push into today's agenda. So in part one, we're going to kick things off just by providing you with an introduction to our entire product suite. So you have a context for how Sponge fits into your physical systems and also how we fit into your sales process. In part two, we're going to talk about export controls. This is a topic that we've collaborated closely with Frankensolar on. We're going to speak about two use cases, FIT repowers. This is a specific Ontario use case. So if you're watching in post, you're not from Ontario, you can skip over that portion. And zero export control, this applies to context, of course, across Canada. We're going to briefly touch specifically on the Save on Energy incentive here in Ontario that's pushing so many clients towards load displacement projects. And we'll speak to the process for capturing that incentive, how to stack it with other Canadian tax-based incentives like the ITC. Now, in part three, so export control is sort of the easy pickings for us. Sponge's core business is advanced controls for battery systems that maximize economic returns and outage runtime in batteries. We'll speak to how our patented forecast-based controls are unlike anything else in the market. We'll speak to how we're applying those controls to specific Canadian rate structures. And we'll talk about how we're helping installers just like you build battery proposals with clear economic metrics like payback period, NPV, IRR, so that you can arrive to your clients with effective decision-making tools that say, here's what a solar net meter project looks like, and here's what that same project could look like in a low displacement context with a battery, so that you can support them in making the best decision for their facility. If everybody's with me, I'll introduce you to the Sponge product suite. So at the heart of the Sponge offering is the EMC. EMC stands for Energy Management Controller. The EMC is the on-site compute hardware for our zero export, monitoring, and optimization offerings. The device features an interactive touchscreen display, allowing for simple setup and commissioning of each of those offerings. The EMC connects directly to system inverters, smart meters, load management equipment over Modbus or local API. It can connect to any kind of inverter, and importantly, it can connect and control multiple inverters at once. We have 3 tiers of this product: EMC Base for projects under 30 kilowatts AC, EMC Pro for projects over 30 kilowatts AC, and Pro Plus. Wrong way, Pro Plus. Pro Plus is the EMC Pro with the addition of an outdoor rated NEMA enclosure, UPS, network switch, along with additional customizations for projects which require additional and unique uptime security. The EMC comes built in with Monitor Base. That's our user dashboard, available directly on the device's touchscreen, as well as a web app. Monitor Base allows users the ability to view system status, power flow, as well as history, and most important to Sponge, forecast of both generation and load. So please remember this point about forecasting, because it's the center of the Sponge value proposition. All the unique value that we provide comes from the fact that we're forecasting both generation and load of your client's facilities. Every Sponge system is constantly doing 2 things. It's looking at the history of a facility's consumption patterns and forecasting what the load is going to look like based on that history. And it's looking at the history of renewable energy production, combining that with a weather forecast to produce a forecast of what production is going to look like at that facility. And we're using those 2 pieces of information to rebuild our understanding of the future at that site every 10 minutes and to make intelligent decisions about how to control your inverter and your battery. Now, I'll touch briefly here. We do also have an advanced monitor offering. This is a subscription-based offering in contrast with Monitor Base, which we just shown you, which is free when you purchase the EMC. This is for more of an O&M profile client. Core functionalities here being troubleshooting tools like inverter heat maps, voltage analysis, bespoke email notifications for critical alerts. So we'll sit down with your team, we'll determine where you want to be notified and when. And then finally, we also have video monitoring capabilities available. So we have clients that essentially use the EMC as a data logger. It turns out that in order to build advanced controls that we have, we needed to capture all the data that most O&M teams want to look at anyways. So in those contexts, we're replacing products like SolarLog as a primary data aggregator and gateway. Not the focus of today's presentation, but please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any further questions about that product line. So to summarize the product offering here, the core of everything we do is our hardware, Sponge EMC, that's available in the Franken Solar web store. The EMC comes inbuilt with export control capabilities, which we're going to dive into next. We also sell license-based services, which we just introduced, the advanced monitor platform. In the back half of this presentation, we're going to be speaking about battery optimization. This is a service that you purchase at the start of your project. It runs for the lifetime of your batteries. There's no surprise renewals here. And then finally, we're going to speak to our proposal services. So this is where we help you dive into how to find the right size of battery for your project and how to help you build a clear, concise proposal that you can add onto your solar proposal so that you can start to sell more batteries. Okay, with that, we move on to part 2. Let's move into export control. So here in Canada, certain brands of inverters have settings that allow you to limit power backflow to the grid. Other brands, which have strong economic and performance capabilities, have certain models within their product catalog that lack this export control piece and that require a third-party solution. So here in Canada, some of those brands are Solus, Canadian Solar, and SunGrow. Sponge is Franken Solar's preferred third-party supplier for each of those brands. So for example, if you want to build a low displacement project with a Solus inverter from Franken Solar, it's going to be recommended that you purchase a Sponge EMC to manage that export control capability. Now, I'm going to walk you through a couple specific use cases here. First up, we're going to look at Ontario FIT Retrofits, something we call dynamic derating export control. We have a unique export control use case here in Ontario with regards to the FIT tariff projects. The FIT program in Ontario provided strong energy rates for solar production for projects installed about, say 10 to 15 years ago. And we're at a point where some of those projects now need to engage in repowering exercises due to failing legacy inverters. So Solus inverters are a great solution here, but of course these contracts have strict export control limits, and going above those limits as one repowers could result in penalties or the loss of the FIT contract. So in this case, after Solus inverters were installed, we had a higher AC nameplate rating than the original contract. The Sponge EMC was installed to ensure that we were there to maintain the FIT contract export rating. So in this case, we're controlling both Solus and legacy inverter brands at the same time, maintaining FIT compliance to ensure that we never exceed the export limit. And in the case that any additional legacy inverters fail, our Sponge EMC will ramp up the production of the rest of the inverters to ensure that site revenue is being maximized as often as possible. This particular client also wanted to have video monitoring at the site, so we helped them set that up, and we've included that as a feature in our advanced monitor platform for them. Now, the second case, the slightly more common case today is supporting zero export for the Save on Energy incentive. So dynamic inverter controls adjust output up to 5 times per second, or as fast as the inverter itself can respond. We can control it. We're here looking at a more advanced use case over here, where we're actually managing export control with the battery. So rather than curtailing the solar energy, we can see we're leveraging the battery first to capture excess solar and then discharge later when solar production drops below the facility's required load requirements. Now, did I see a question popping up from Danny?
No.
Nope. Okay. So now we're going to give you, we've given you an intro to the EMC as a product itself. Let's talk about the EMC in the context of a zero export control solution. The full zero export control solution requires one EMC, one energy meter, and at least one CT. Energy meters and CTs are available in the Franken Solar web store. If you have any questions about that, you can ask Danny, Alex, Abdel, Natalie, Ed, Michael, Alexander, Arjun, or Randy. They can help you sort out the right product for your particular job. There are several ways we can set these systems up. We have Modbus RTU and TCP communication capabilities available. If we're going to do, we'll be doing a standard Modbus 485 setup for situations where we have 1 to 2 inverters that we're controlling. Anytime that we go larger to that with multiple inverter jobs, we switch over to a TCP converter to ensure that there's no delay in communications. The Sponge Zero Export Control sales process looks something like what we've got up on screen here. So at a very high level, you'll purchase the Sponge EMC from Franken Solar. You can then reach out to Sponge with a single line diagram. We can assist in marking up that single line diagram to show you where all required equipment belongs inside of the installation. Your unit will ship to site. You will complete the installation process for the EMC. We have a very simple quick start guide. It's a rapid process. We just need you to connect to the internet and ensure that the EMC is connected properly to each of the inverters. And then we have a white glove commissioning service where we're going to manage all of the back end setup for you. We're confirming all communication channels are functional. We're configuring a digital single line diagram, monitoring and adjusting control coefficients to optimize performance. And then at the end of a 2-week process where we confirm that all systems are functioning exactly as they should, then we'll have a final project handoff to you. That allows us to speak quickly about what the pricing model on this product looks like. So the Hardware, again, is available in the Franken Solar store, and then we do have a commissioning fee for projects over 30 kilowatts AC, and that's also available in the Franken Solar store. And then down below here, I've included the pricing for our monitoring service since we've integrated that into some of the discussion here today. I'm about to move away from the export control part of this presentation, so I'll pause here just to check that I'm not leaving any information out before we roll on. Any questions coming in?
Nothing yet.
Okay. So we have recently co-authored an education guide on how to claim the Save on Energy incentive with the ITC and accelerated depreciation. I understand that there are some installers that are on this call that have done loads of export control projects, while there's others that may be looking to do their first one. So I just want to dive into a little bit of information about this incentive program to make sure that we all have the same sort of mutual understanding and that we all understand how this program is working. So most solar projects that I've seen that apply this incentive, this $860 per kilowatt rebate, that rebate is covering up to 40%, even just shy of 50% of the all-in solar installation costs. Other key considerations, this applies to projects up to 1 megawatt AC. You can build larger projects, but the incentive stops at 1 megawatt. And this can only be for projects with panels installed on rooftops. This doesn't include ground mount systems. When it comes to combining the Save on Energy incentive with other incentives, you'll be applying first the Save on Energy discount, and then you'll have a new net cost of your project. And to that net cost is where you then apply your 20 or 30% ITC rate. And then once you've applied your 20 or 30% ITC rate, you'll have a new net cost where you can apply accelerated depreciation. Again, if any of these concepts are a little bit foreign, you want to learn a little bit more about how you can stack all of these things, there's an in-depth blog post on the Franken Solar website that you can dive into to get some deeper instructions about how you can incorporate all of these systems into your proposal. Now, final point, well established now, we started off the whole presentation with this. When you apply the Save on Energy incentive, you cannot export to the grid. So Save on Energy and similar incentive structures across Canada have created unique environments where for the first time, it's practical to start considering batteries, not just for backup power use cases, but for economic use cases. And in the next couple slides, we're going to dig into why that is. So, everybody take your quick stretch here, make sure that you're ready, sit forward in the chair, because here's where we're gonna bring the juice. We're going to make the case that there are a number of project profiles where the strongest project option for both you and your client is to add in a battery. And I'll take this opportunity again to remind everyone on the call how Sponge is aiming to help you in this case. We're providing advanced control systems for any of the Franken Solar brands that you might want to work with that are maximizing economic returns on a battery to reduce the payback period and to turn that asset into a stronger investment opportunity for your client. And two, we're helping you right-size your battery and build proposals that clearly frame the battery as an investment so that you can present a clear argument to your client that allows them to make the right purchase decision. Put even more simply, though, there are changes that are happening in our market. Where every project used to be net meter, we're now in a context where the best economics for some projects will still be net meter, and the best economics for other projects will be load displacement and a battery. And we're here to help you excel in this new market. So, what do your next few minutes look like? In the next few minutes, we're going to walk you through rules of thumb for spotting what a good load displacement plus battery project looks like. We'll explain specifically how adding the Sponge EMC into that product suite will help you augment returns. Then we're going to walk through how you can work with both Sponge and Franken Solar to add batteries to your next proposal. And then we'll take a quick look at some sample proposals so you can understand what this kind of thing can look like as you move forward. Now, let's start things off here by just asking ourselves, what does a good solar-only project look like? In an ideal solar project, your load profile matches the solar days. And there's a number of businesses that do match this profile. You can think of a single shift factory, a retail store. But what happens when we look to, say, a flatter load profile? This is a place where we could start potentially considering a good project. Here we have excess solar for a battery to capture and a place for that energy to go at night. I mean, let's consider the alternative, which is a load displacement only project. You have, in this case, to make your solar system considerably smaller so that you don't end up with a system where half your energy gets lost as heat. Most of our installers that we work with, they kind of want to stay away from this option because, I mean, it's a bit of a downer if you're an installer, right? And for the same amount of sales work, you could have built a megawatt sales project, a megawatt project, but now you're only building a 350 kilowatt project. But maybe your customer wants to use the Save on Energy credit. So this is a place where Sponge can help you with that comparative analysis. There might be a toss-up here between whether it makes more sense to go to net meter or low displacement with a battery, because you could use net meter credits to offset that nighttime consumption. But Sponge can help you find the balance. In situations like this, we can evaluate your cost per kilowatt of installation, your cost per kilowatt of various batteries that Franken Solar sells, and we can right-size the system so that you can build a compelling low displacement and battery proposal. What's important to point out here with this slide is that this can be an iterative analysis process. We need to size the battery based on both its cost and its offset savings potential, and then we can resize the PV based on the battery capacity that we're recommending, which is based on the specific load profile that we're catering to. Now, I want to bring you to a final use case, which is when we look at a facility that has a pretty constant 24-hour base load that also has lots of power peaks. Now, this is an absolutely ideal project for bringing a battery in because Sponge can help you carry out evening load displacement and enter into the marvelous, wonderful world of demand charge reduction. So let's dive into demand charge reduction because this is where the economics are really starting to hit. Here, specifically in Ontario, we have an opportunity with Class B businesses that I want everybody on this call to be able to pursue. So in Ontario and most jurisdictions across Canada, when a facility reaches above 50 kilowatts peak power consumption, they are subject to demand charges. And that means that they are not only billed for the volume of energy they consume, but on a per kilowatt basis for the maximum power they consume each month. Here in Ontario, that type of charge applies to businesses that we classify as Class B. Class B is anywhere from 50 kilowatts peak power consumption to about up to 1 megawatt. Above that, typically we see businesses jumping up to what we call Class A. Class A is a well-contested space that's, say, the 100 largest corporations in the province. But Class B, if you are a mid-sized solar installer trying to make your way, trying to get your bread, these are your people. This is our industrial heart. And these are the medium-sized business owners that you can go and shake hands with tomorrow. And they have a new problem that you can solve. So what is that problem? Well, demand charges are going to start being a significantly larger portion of their bill. Why is that? We've recently published a blog post on our website that walks through all of this in great detail. I invite you to go look at that, use it as a resource when you're talking to your clients. But the long and the short of it here is that in Ontario, the OEB, the Ontario Energy Board, regulates the volumetric, that's per kilowatt hour energy rate. And that rate, barring a few fluctuations, mainly the COVID stimulus package, which actually lowered the volumetric energy costs, has stayed pretty constant over the last 5 years. It has a growth rate of about 2 to 3% a year. Now, in contrast, the demand charge rate is set by individual utilities, Hydro One, Electra, Each year, they have to apply to increase this rate, with the justification being that this is how they pay for their demand infrastructure. It's also how they ensure that they maintain a profit. And that rate, the demand-based rate, has been increasing year over year at a rate of about 5 to 6%. So what's the conclusion here? We're all familiar with how compounding works. In the coming years, our current market forces are going to make demand charges a significantly larger portion of your customers' energy bills. And this isn't something that, on the whole, most people understand. This is our job, your job as solar sales representatives, to go out, solar and battery sales representatives, to go out and educate business owners about what they need to do to protect themselves. So what can you do about this? So solar is excellent for reducing volumetric energy consumption. It's not very good at reducing peak power, but you know what is? Battery systems. If you want to build a fulsome energy management strategy for a lot of your clients going forward, you're going to need to start looking at incorporating batteries into your proposals. So ask yourself, what should you be looking for today when you go out and you initiate a conversation with a potential solar lead? A good rule of thumb is if demand charges are already more than 1/3 of their energy bill. And again, we've actually provided some resources on our website that tell you how to look at bills from some of the major utilities here in the province so that you can analyze what the demand charge ratio is. In some cases, it's not exactly clear. So please make use of those resources to be able to analyze those bills and help your customer understand just how much of their bill is coming from this demand side charge. For those of you listening from other provinces, I apologize that was a little bit Ontario-centric, but I've spoken primarily about Ontario, but most utilities across Canada do have demand charges. This is a use case that applies everywhere. We've built several proposals for this use case out in the prairies, and there's business to be done here across Canada with this use case. So let's say you've spotted a project that looks like it might be a good battery project. What is the next step? The next step is to carry out cost-benefit analysis. What size of battery is going to maximize total system annual savings? What's the price for a battery of that size? How does that affect total project cost? What incentives can be directly applied to your total project cost? And then finally, is the juice worth the squeeze on that particular facility that you're assessing? So this is a process that we encourage everyone on the call to engage with before you come to us, because this is not an easy process to engage with. Right-sizing a battery is a multivariable process. Considerations: which economic storage strategy should we be pursuing? We need to understand very deeply what the client's load profile looks like. We need to carry out an analysis of, what their peak size is relative to their base rate, how often those peaks occur, with what level of predictability those peaks occur, and also what other displacement profiles we can apply using a battery. We need to consider what specific rates we are pressing up against, whether we can, by adding a battery, help your client switch from one rate profile to another. And then finally, of course, we need to consider what the price of the battery is that we are recommending based on the maximization of annual savings. It's enough to make your head spin, and that's why Sponge is here. What we do is we take 1 year of your client's load data, and we'll run a simulation after simulation to determine which battery system equipped with Sponge control is going to produce the strongest economic outcome for your client. So now it's at this point that I'm sure I can hear a few people squinting. Okay, Paul, it's great that you can help me find the right size battery for my project. You're saying that I need your EMC controller and a battery. Don't most batteries come with inbuilt controls? What do I need the Sponge EMC for? Thank you so much for asking. Let's talk about the value add that comes from having a Sponge controlled battery. So in order to do that, let's discuss what the current state of most battery control systems is. I would say, perhaps slightly biased, most battery control systems are not good. The majority of battery control systems will allow you to choose only one economic storage strategy. You can choose load displacement, you can choose peak shaving, you can choose a backup use case, or you can choose to be part of a virtual power plant, but you have to choose one. Secondly, most of these control systems are commissioned at day one, and the control strategy doesn't change after that. So you as the installer, if it's your job to anticipate what the future is going to look like, and to program the battery to charge with charge and discharge settings that account for outlying cases, for seasonality, for changes to the load profile. And if any of that gets missed, you're going to be driving back out to site to adjust settings. Just about the last thing that you want, right? And either that or your client's going to go around finagling with your inverter, which is potentially even worse. Contrast that with when Sponge is in control. Sponge is rebuilding your storage maximization strategy every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, we look at what the forecasted solar production is. We look at what the client load profile forecast is. We look at the rate structure and we say, how do we maximize the return on this battery right now? How do we maximize solar capture? How do we minimize the energy bill? The fact that we are using these forecasts and making intelligent decisions mean that we can actually target multiple economic storage strategies at once. And that's the Sponge EMC difference. A battery system can get you so far, but we have cases where when added onto existing battery systems, we're able to boost savings by an additional 40% and reduce payback periods by an additional 4 years. So thank you for asking that question, our hypothetical doubter. And now we'll get back to the regular program. We'll walk you through what it looks like to build a solar proposal with us. So for this, I'm actually going to pop out of our slideshow presentation. I'm going to take you over to our website where we've actually broken down the process of building out a solar proposal. We're going to be focusing on a new build grid tied, but we are able to help out with off-grid systems. We're able to help out when our product is a retrofit on older systems. So a couple key points here. When it comes to building a proposal with Sponge, we need a few things from you. First up, we need a project SLD. If we don't have that yet, we can work with a solar system simulation output, something from Aurora, Helioscope, etc. We need to know your preferred battery brands so we can help assess all of the different battery brands that Franken Solar has, or if you have a specific one that you trust and you like from within that suite, then we can look specifically at that. And then we need at least one energy bill from the facility that we're evaluating, just so that we can confirm who the utility is, what the rate class is, what the unique solar profile at that site is. And finally, we ask for as much as possible 1 year of smart interval data. Now, this is something that can be difficult to get. We've done a number of things to make sure that this process is as simple as possible. We've actually created a guide, a smart meter guide. Should be able to select right here, which has an email template that you can come to our website and copy. So you can send out an email to your client that tells them how to go and capture this correct type of interval data that we need to create a really accurate simulation of what their savings profile is going to look like. Now, importantly, we've actually gone and created a tool that will allow you to follow this process for just about every major utility in Canada. So you can come in here, cut and paste the instructions and send that out to your client so that they can help you capture this critical piece of data, so that we can build out these really strong proposals that allow customers to understand the battery as an investment asset. Moving forward, we will move to what some of these proposals can look like. So in this case, we actually helped a client assess not only what a zero export solar and storage project looked like, but what a low displacement project looked like and what a net meter project looked like, all side by side, so the client could make a clear decision about what move they wanted to make. So you can see here that we've taken the total budget cost, we've helped the installer apply each of the major incentives that they can bring, and then we've also helped calculate some of those core economic metrics for the entire system that help them understand payback period, IRR, NPV, and then of course we've broken down where those savings are coming from, whether they're coming directly from energy or whether they're coming from demand charge reduction. We'll move much farther down in this proposal now because I want to bring you guys to a couple core points about the Sponge offering. We've already spoken to the fact that most batteries, will only allow you to pursue one strategy. In this case, we were able to help a customer carry out not just low displacement, not just peak shaving, but a strategy where they were able to pursue multiple economic strategies at once, both low displacement and peak shaving, by making those intelligent decisions every 10 minutes to maximize the revenue that's coming out of that battery. And then there's some important considerations to be made here with regards to how we differentiate ourselves in serving the peak shaving use case. So most batteries, as we've said, you just pre-program a preset battery deployment threshold. So you have a battery with maximum discharge capacity. You look at what the peak load on the year is, and your deployment threshold is effectively, sort of like your peak load minus what your battery capacity is. But that means that if there's any kind of seasonality in the consumption rate, say this is a business that relies on heating and cooling, there's going to be sometimes where, due to the set threshold, you're actually not utilizing the battery's full capacity. I'm not sure if you guys can see my mouse here on the screen, but you can look towards that spring area at the top of the screen. So that's unfortunate. You're not maximizing your savings in that case. Additionally, let's say you install a peak shaving strategy, and 3 years out, the factory that you installed it on is doing quite well, so they buy some new machinery, and that fundamentally alters the peak profile, the load profile of that facility. So now all of a sudden, 3 months after that purchase, you've got an angry client calling, asking why their demand charge bill is so high. And again, you're driving out to site to try and recommission this system to meet the new load profile. With Sponge, we're constantly monitoring the load profile and remaking the demand charge reduction strategy. So that means we maximize seasonal savings according to peak consumption profiles. And if that load profile changes, okay, we're going to miss that first month that change happens. But after that, the system will adapt to the new load profile and utilize your battery to maximize savings under the new load conditions. So you're not driving back out to site. On the back end here, you can see that by combining multiple strategies, we're helping to maximize annual savings, ratchet down that payback period. So this becomes a strong investment for your client. Now, when it comes to building out these proposals, we have a pretty simple process, which we walked you through. This proposal building is available as a service. If this is a service that you'd like to engage with, you can reach out to us, set a meeting with our team, and we can assess your business needs. We can figure out how many proposals you need a month, a year, and build out an enterprise plan that works specifically for your company. We're here to support you. If you want to learn more about our tech, please reach out, schedule a deeper technical introduction. We'd like to thank Franken Solar for hosting us today. They've been an excellent partner. And at this point, we'll open up the floor to questions. I'll introduce as well Jeremy Lytle, our CEO, onto the call, who will help me out. And I'm sure you've all heard enough of my voice at this point, so perhaps we'll change things up.
Yeah, and also thank you again, Paul. On top of that, I want to add that from our side, Alexander, Wolf, and and Abdel here have been working diligently behind the scenes on bringing new battery and battery inverter solutions into the Canadian market. So, I think the days of, overpriced solar converters for all these systems, I think that's coming to an end. And we have some really, really cool products that we've been working on. We have a 600-volt battery inverter for commercial that's coming. We've got super economical battery solutions from world-class, like really, really large battery manufacturers that have products coming in that are certified for the Canadian market now. So, something to keep in mind as well, that we do have really good solutions for you. So our team is there to help out. We have brought on Randy Fascinato as well on the battery side of things to help bring some expertise in for the sales side and support our account managers and myself, and provide solutions for everyone across the country from coast to coast to coast. So yeah, just something I wanted to add. And again, thanks, Paul. If anyone has any questions, I don't know if there is any, but feel free to ask. Just unmute yourself if you have a question and ask away. It doesn't look like there's too much. I think you probably answered a lot of things. Yeah, how can people, if they do have questions afterwards, how can people reach out to you guys?
Absolutely. They can reach out either directly to me at paul.kealey@sponge.to, or Jeremy Lytle, jeremy.lytle@sponge.to. We can, of course, fire through an email to all of the attendees with all of the resources that we alluded to on the call today, whether that be the individual blog posts. Some of our core marketing material is a bit of a summary. We're really looking forward to speaking to each and every one of you about how we can support your businesses in this new channel, this new product lane.
Awesome. Yeah, and again, the other way, of course, is if you have an account manager at Franken Solar, reach out to them. They can also make the connection, and that's always an easy way. And we're happy to help out getting everyone together. So yeah, so no, thank you very much. And for those, if you have someone in your companies that missed the webinar and you want to show it to them, it will be posted on our YouTube account as well. So just like all of our webinars, you can revisit it there. And we're planning to do more of these together with Sponge as well as as the year comes to an end and into next year. Since it's an ever evolving landscape when it comes to anything battery storage related. But yeah, no, thanks guys.
Yep.
And till next time.